What's up, Taiwan? I'm Jeremy Olivier with news from here in Taiwan and around the world. A small city in South Korea is gearing up for some of the world's most influential leaders to meet this week. The APEC summit is expected to bring together representatives from 21 Pacific Rim economies to talk trade and economic cooperation. Our reporter Keynes Kuranta is on the ground there and brings us this report.
The world is focusing in on Gyeongju, South Korea this week, where the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Forum is underway. Leaders from all over the world will gather here for meetings that could have a major impact on global trade and diplomacy. Highly anticipated is an expected meeting between the leaders of the world's two largest economies, U.S. President Donald Trump and Chinese President Xi Jinping, their first face-to-face meeting since Trump began his second term. It comes during a fragile time in U.S.-China relations. Just weeks ago, the U.S. threatened to slap 100% tariffs on China after China tightened export controls on raw earth minerals, escalating an ongoing trade war. But the U.S.'s top negotiator says the two sides hammered out a preliminary framework for a trade deal in Malaysia over the weekend. And on Monday, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio had a phone call with Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi, setting the stage for their leaders to meet later this week.
I have a lot of respect for President Xi, and I think we're going to come away with a deal.
Trump has also suggested the two sides could talk about Taiwan, something Taiwan's foreign ministry says it's watching out for. There are also other big meetings going on. Both Xi and Trump are set to meet South Korean President Lee Jae-myung, with Washington and Seoul expected to continue working out a tariff deal as negotiations have stalled. Meanwhile, Taiwan's representative to APEC, Lin Xin-yi, says he hopes to engage with other leaders at the forum, likely meaning some sideline meetings of his own, in line with goals set out by Taiwan President Lai Ching-te to increase international economic cooperation. Taiwan's foreign minister has also suggested there could be discussions with U.S. officials on tariffs. Lin, who is a senior advisor to Lai and chairman of a government-based venture capital firm, left Taiwan on Tuesday morning for South Korea.
我此行也会利用机会来向各会员国的领袖代表以及企业的代表来表达总统特别希望能够传达的我们的任务能够把台湾分享说明我们在每一个领域的特色跟我们的优势，特别是半导体 AI 我们的智慧医疗中小企业。
Global business leaders are also here in Gyeongju, including NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang, who might deliver a speech this week on technologies such as AI and robotics. With so many world leaders and drivers of the global economy gathering here in this small city, security has been ramped up. Preparations are being made in front of both Xi and Trump's hotels with entrance marquees set up and strict security protocols near APEC venues. Over 18,000 police, as well as the Coast Guard and SWAT teams, are being mobilized as terrorism alert levels have been raised. And local media are reporting that large-scale protests planned throughout the week are putting the city on even higher alert. There are both anti-China and anti-U.S. protests planned, those against the U.S. protesting things like Trump's tariffs and what they call U.S. hegemonic behavior in general. So there's a feeling of anticipation here in Gyeongju, an otherwise quiet city where some of the world's biggest moments may happen in the next few days. From trade deals to high-stakes meetings, there's a lot to look out for. Justin Wu and Keynes Kuranta in Gyeongju, South Korea for TaiwanPlus.
U.S. President Donald Trump is continuing his Asia trip with a stop in Japan. There, he and Japan's new Prime Minister Takaichi have signed documents reaffirming the U.S.-Japan alliance and pledging to work together on securing rare earths. John Van Trieste reports.
U.S. President Donald Trump and Japanese Prime Minister Takaichi Sanae greet each other in Tokyo's Akasaka Palace. For Takaichi, today is one of the first tests of her leadership. Japanese goods are subject to a 15% U.S. tariff rate, and the country's had to invest $550 billion in the U.S. But Washington wants more, greater access to the Japanese market for vehicles and agricultural goods. Still, Japan, with nearby rivals and hostile neighbors, has its own security interests to look after. And besides, the US and Japan are working out a new tariff deal that might be more favorable to Tokyo. Japanese firms may even make inroads into the US with all the Japanese investment going there. It was a meeting filled with warm words, with both sides placing high hopes on what's next in US-Japan relations.
Through these efforts with you, Mr. President, I hope we can build a new golden age of the Japan-US alliance, where both Japan and the United States will become stronger and also more prosperous.
The two leaders signed two documents, one on bringing about a golden age in US-Japan ties, and another on working together to secure rare earth minerals, as Washington works to reduce its reliance on China by diversifying its supply of critical minerals. Trump has much to be pleased about besides all the Japanese investment. Takaichi's government will raise military spending to 2% of GDP early, meeting Trump's expectation that US allies take more responsibility for their own defense. He praised Takaichi and pledged any US help Japan may need.
Our country, I want to just let you know, anytime you have any question, any doubt, anything you want, any favors you need, anything I can do to help Japan, we will be there. We are an ally at the strongest level.
Takaichi and Trump also talked baseball. They spoke about Takaichi's mentor and Trump's friend, the late Prime Minister Abe Shinzo. And Takaichi said new cherry blossom trees and a Japanese fireworks show are coming to Washington next year to mark 250 years of U.S. independence. As Trump prepares to head to South Korea for a meeting with Chinese President Xi Jinping, he leaves Japan with assurances that despite trade frictions, the U.S.-Japan alliance will thrive. Ryan Wu and John Van Trieste for TaiwanPlus.
A delegation from the U.S. state of Florida was in Taiwan looking to boost economic ties. Florida Secretaries of State and Commerce Cord Byrd and J. Alex Kelly were in Taiwan, where they met with business leaders. In a statement, Taiwan's economy ministry said they will work with the U.S. state to deepen bilateral cooperation in key industries, including semiconductors and education. The two signed an MOU in January. Taiwan and Europe share similar challenges when it comes to protecting their undersea cables. Both have faced threats from China-linked vessels in recent years. But an event in Taipei aims to find ways for both sides to boost cooperation and prevent such attacks. Alan Liu reports.
Taiwan's undersea cables are under threat. About 8 are damaged every year, and they're often caused by suspicious civilian vessels. Why is that happening? Officials and experts are gathering in Taipei to discuss how to work with international partners to protect the network. Taiwan's Foreign Minister Lin Jialong says the country has a lot to learn from Europe, which faces similar threats.
那台湾因为也面对海缆破坏的挑战，那欧洲国家这几年也非常的明显哈，所以在这方面，台湾跟欧洲国家一起发动这一个倡议。
Rihard Kos, a member of the European Parliament's Foreign Affairs Committee, says 46 incidents were recorded worldwide just last year, the highest in more than a decade. And cases with strategic motives or suspicious proximity are clearly on the rise, meaning more global cooperation is needed.
We need real-time data sharing between the allies and partners, clear mechanisms for attribution of responsibility, and consequences for those who try to disrupt economic, political, diplomatic, or deliberate sabotage.
The discussion comes as Taiwan steps up efforts to strengthen its undersea cable laws. Starting Thursday, the legislature will review proposed amendments to laws related to the supply of electricity, natural gas, and water, all part of the country's 7 undersea cable bills. As Taiwan gears up to review its legal tools to protect the undersea cables, learning from its international allies and strengthening collaboration efforts are becoming more crucial than ever. Alex Chen and Ellen Liu in Taipei for TaiwanPlus.
Taiwan's Foxconn is making a major investment in artificial intelligence. The company says it will spend up to $1.37 billion on new AI data centers and supercomputing projects. The investment will run from December 2025 through 2026 and will use Foxconn's own funds. The The company has not officially named a location, but it previously announced plans to build a 100-megawatt supercomputer in southern Taiwan with U.S. chip giant NVIDIA. The move is part of the iPhone maker's push to find new growth beyond smartphones. It follows other AI initiatives, including a partnership with Japan's SoftBank to make data center equipment in the U.S. That's for the $500 billion Stargate project. Survivors of one of Myanmar's most notorious scam centers are continuing to trickle into Thailand. Dramatic footage shows individuals believed to be escaped scam center workers swimming across the river that runs along the Thai-Myanmar border. The exodus began after Myanmar's military raided the infamous KK Park compound on October 22nd. Since then, over 1,000 escapees of different nationalities have arrived in Thailand, where they are receiving humanitarian aid. Taiwan's National Palace Museum, which holds some of the nation's most valuable treasures, is beefing up its security measures. It comes as authorities in France arrest suspects involved in a robbery of the Louvre. Sandy Chi reports.
Regular searches for explosives are part of daily security routines at Taiwan's National Palace Museum. The museum has recently tightened its security measures. That's after thieves stole several priceless items from the Louvre Museum in Paris on Sunday. Using an extendable ladder and other basic tools, the burglars took less than 10 minutes to nab 8 pieces, including a jeweled headband, necklaces, and earrings. The heist marks the 4th French museum robbery in 2 months, and it's got museum administrators here in Taiwan nervous.
那这对故宫来讲是非常不可思议。那我们再深入了解他们那一种盗窃的方式，我觉得那好像是电影情节一样。那我们在归纳所谓的博物馆保全这么严谨的一种系统下呢，这是一种非典型的。那所谓非典型，就是说以前从来没有发生过。
But the National Palace Museum says it would be impossible for someone to break into its building using the same method.
他们的防备、他们的设施。包括他们从外墙进入，用升降机施工的这种状况，在故宫是不可能发生的，因为故宫在户外、室内都有非常严谨的监视系统，我们有24小时的监视。
The museum also has its own canine unit, which started in 1985. The team includes 4 dogs and their handlers.
平常日常的话，我们会有早上1次巡逻，下午1次巡逻，但是就看当天的人力的安排。巡逻的人就去巡逻，那剩下的人我们就是会做那个爆裂物的搜索的训练这样子。那一般我们是以置物柜这边置物区来做训练这样。
To make sure the museum's treasures are secure, the facility holds regular drills.
其实故宫我们1年大概有3到4次演练，包括地震，还有火灾，还有其他的防备，包括恐怖分子或者防止某一些爆裂物等等，这些我们每年几乎都会做。
The museum also plans to conduct intrusion simulation drills based on the Louvre case in the near future, testing how its security systems can hold up under real-world scenarios. Joseph Wu and Takaichi for TaiwanPlus.
Taiwan continues to add to its medal count at the 2025 Asian Youth Games in Bahrain. The swimming team secured 3 medals, 1 gold and 2 bronze, with Huang Yuteng winning the top spot in the men's 200-meter backstroke final. The 3-on-3 women's basketball team delivered a stunning defeat in overtime to win gold against Iran. And cycling produced another great result. Xie Zhixiang won silver in the men's individual time trials. Taiwan's current medal count stands at 6 gold, 7 silver, and 13 bronze. Thank you for watching What's Up Taiwan. Finally, let's head to Mexico City to enjoy hundreds of La Catrinas parading through the streets to mark the start of the Day of the Dead celebrations. I'm Jeremy Olivier. Take care and see you next time.